Hello and welcome to North Country Matters. My name is Donna Seymour. I'm a member of the St. Lawrence County League of Women Voters, one of the civic partners for this show. My guest today is Seth McGowan, president of the Adirondack Sky Center and Observatory in Tupper Lake. On April 8th, a total solar eclipse will be visible across North America and leave 31.5 million people in temporary darkness when the moon passes between the sun and the earth. Seth is here to talk to us about the work of the Sky Center and what Totality in Tupper will look like for the solar eclipse here on April 8th. Seth, welcome to North Country Matters. Like too many North Country resources, your Adirondack Sky Center and Observatory is kind of a hidden treasure. I'm looking forward to learning more about it, your work, and what Totality in Tupper has on tap for the Great American Eclipse.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's really an honor to be here. And yeah, I agree. We're a hidden treasure, but we're trying to shed that reputation. And I believe that the April 8th, 2024 April 8th eclipse will really put us into orbit around the Adirondacks. We are the only astronomy-based organization in the Adirondacks that I'm aware of, at least. If somebody else is out there, I'm not aware of them. And we are dedicated to, demystifying the universe for people. And, a lot of times people think that when it comes to space and so forth, that you need an advanced degree in astrophysics in order to understand where you are in the universe. And I contend, and we contend that that's just not true. You can learn a lot and you can feel like you're part of your very own universe through certain experiences, and we like to provide those experiences. I myself, honestly, I'm a former music teacher. I've spent a career as an educator. I grew up in the Bronx, but came up to the Adirondacks to start my career as a music teacher. And through one turn or another, I became an administrator, a technology coordinator in the district. And ultimately, I retired as the superintendent of the school district here in Tupper Lake just a few years back. So my point in telling you that is that if a guy like me can have the sort of interest and excitement about astronomy and the universe out there, the wilderness above, as Eileen O'Donoghue says, then anybody can do this. This is not advanced astrophysics. So we've been around for quite a while, but the thing that really put us over the top, I think, with popularity is our roll-off roof observatory on Big Wolf Road right here in Tupper Lake. That was built in 2013. And in that building, we have 4 permanently mounted high-power telescopes. And we provide a great opportunity for people to see very, very deep space objects that they wouldn't be able to see with their own home telescopes, or certainly not with the naked eye. So we can take them on a tour of the universe in just a matter of an hour. It's very exciting.
Seth, when a group comes together to create something like this, it takes a lot of outside support and funding. Tell us a little bit about the history of how the observatory got started.
Sure. Yeah, we are a not-for-profit organization, so every penny that we have goes to our own existence and sustains our programs that we offer. A few of the folks, Tim Muller and Mark Staves, had this idea of providing an astronomy program in Tupper Lake back in the late 90s. They brought in Gordy Duval, who's was at the time a physics teacher at the high school right here in Tupper Lake, and they started providing programs, and they started doing fundraising, and they held events without a building. They would just bring telescopes to the beach, for example, or up at Big Tupper. And through that fundraising efforts, we had a few individuals who donated, and we just raised enough money at one point to build the observatory. And with the momentum that we have, we were able to provide now much richer programs than we were back then through the equipment and the building that we have. But again, we none of us, none of the astronomers are paid. It's all entirely a voluntary force, and we do a certain amount of fundraising. And we're looking at adding to our building, our observatory down there, in the form of a planetarium, a state-of-the-art digital planetarium. So we'll have both an observatory, which is typically found in the darkest areas of the country, and a planetarium, which is generally found in the middle of a city like Boston or Rochester or New York. So we'll have the rare distinction of having both of those on our own property right here in the middle of the Adirondacks. But again, all very personal, individual donations, privately supported. This is not a state organization or this is a private organization that lives on donations and membership and fundraising efforts.
Well, you're really a great example of what happens when people come together with a common interest and a common desire to reach out and teach other people about something. So, it's a wonderful it's a wonderful example of, I think, the great sort of spirit that the North Country has when it comes to pulling together. And as you say, when you're mostly volunteers, that's how we make things happen up here, isn't it?
I couldn't agree more. And
Yeah.
that kind of spirit that a community has to get behind something that is beneficial not just to that community, but to the entire Adirondack Park. And that's what our selling point is as the only astronomy-based organization. This idea of astrotourism has become very big, really, honestly, since 2017, when the Great American Eclipse, transpired and across the United States. There has just been an explosion of interest in astronomy, and astrotourism has become quite a thing. We have such dark skies in the Adirondacks and in Tupper Lake. We're referred to as the crossroads of the Adirondacks. That's what it says on the sign coming into Tupper Lake, which means we're farther away from any light pollution, any city light pollution, than any place else in the Adirondacks. So it made sense to put an observatory in the darkest skies we could find around here, and that was on this property in Big Wolf Road. So yeah, and the community is very supportive. They come to our programs all year long.
Seth, give us a little thumbnail sketch of your Cygnus Lecture Series, which is where you leverage the power of YouTube, like we
Mm,
do here at North Country Matters,
mm.
to educate folks.
Yeah, the Cygnus Lecture Series is sort of an interesting thing. We had been doing lectures all along in person, both at our own site, sometimes at the high school auditorium. We did some at the Wild Center in their auditorium there, and then COVID happened, and nobody wanted to come out to a lecture. And it was a little bit of a blessing for us, honestly, because we, through that, went online like so many other organizations that provided educational programming. We took it and we named it after Cygnus, the Cygnus, the constellation in the Summer Triangle. And we have now every Thursday, the first Thursday of every month at 7 o'clock, we have an online broadcast, and we have people from all over the country providing these lectures to us, so that we're not limited to geography anymore. We used to have, if somebody wanted to do a lecture for us in the past, they had to come to Tupper Lake, and the audience in Tupper Lake came to that lecture at the auditorium or at the Wild Center. Now we bring in lectures from all over the country and all over the world, from Harvard lecturers on our own board. I mentioned Eileen O'Donoghue does many talks for us. Jeff Miller from St. Lawrence University does talks for us. Gib Brown from WPTZ, a retired meteorologist, is on our board. And not to mention other astronomers from all over the country do them for us. I do some of them myself, just because. And we broadcast. And the beauty of it is that not only aren't we limited to the geography of having presenters here in Tupper Lake, but now our audience is literally worldwide. We have people tuning in from, the Far East and South Africa and all over the world. It's amazing how many different regions we can reach now, and it's exciting. And of course, there's always that question and answer period. The lectures vary from anything from alien life forms, for example, to the newest discoveries from the Webb Space Telescope, or a comet that might be passing by, to something having to do with black holes that have just been uncovered in the universe. So they vary, but there's something for everybody.
Well,
These
I'm
are just.
excited to start paying some attention to that myself now that I found out about it, and hopefully more people in our audience will do the same thing. Of course,
I
Seth,
hope so too. And I should
sure, go ahead.
mention, I just want to qualify that those have been temporarily suspended until after the eclipse.
Of
All of our
course,
energy is totally on totality at this point, and
the,
we'll
the,
pick those up again in the spring.
that makes plenty of sense for sure.
Thank
So, of course, as you mentioned, the big news this spring is the total solar eclipse, and the Sky Center is knee deep or sky deep in all of that with Totality and Tupper. So tell us a little bit, Seth, about the history of total solar eclipses in the Adirondacks.
Oh, well, I can tell you. Let me just bring up the data so that I want to be very specific about this, because it is really a stunning concept to think about. When we look at eclipses, total eclipses, annular eclipses, even partial eclipses, lunar eclipses, it's really just geometry, right? It's just the lining up of planets and how they move, and where the sun is, where the moon is. And we know that as scientists now, we know where that geometry was 1,000 years ago. We know where it will be in 1,000 years from now. So when you think about the width of the umbra, that is the totality of that appears. That's a circle or an oval shape in our case up here. And in our case, that umbra is about 110 miles wide, about the same diameter as the Adirondack Park, give or take, depending on where you are, or what that umbra looks like. So when we go back and we look at when the last time a total solar eclipse like the one coming on April 8th sat entirely on top of the Adirondack Park. That is that oval shape was just covered the entire Adirondack Park. Again, plus or minus, there's a little bit of variation in there. We have to go back to December 10th, 1349. And that's not to say, I want to clarify, that's not to say that total solar eclipses haven't grazed the southern end of the Adirondack Park or the northern end of the Adirondack Park. But the last time, and I use Tupper Lake as a metric, I guess, because we are the crossroads of the Adirondacks. The last time that the total solar eclipse passed through the Adirondacks over Tupper Lake was December 10th, 1349. So that's kind of big news. That's not something that we can ask our grandparents about. We'd have to go back, several generations, before before we were the United States. So that we can fast forward again, we had a partial eclipse in 1925, in 1932, in 1963. We actually had an annular eclipse similar to a total eclipse, except the reverse. The moon was a little bit smaller, the sun was a little bit larger, so we had that ring of fire around the outside. We had that in 1994, and if anybody was around, they probably remember that. I remember. I was here at that time. So that was in 1994. In 2017, on August 21st, we had another partial eclipse where it was the moon obscured the sun by about 63%. Not that long ago, on October 14th, just a few months ago, we had another partial eclipse that was the moon obscured the sun by about 20% here in Tupper Lake. But not since 1349 has this totality occurred directly over the Adirondack Park on April 8th. That'll happen again. We have to fast forward to August 2nd, 2399, until it will happen again. And I want to emphasize that mathematically speaking, geometrically, or whatever the word is speaking, we know that every that geographically, a total solar eclipse appears in the same general geographic area about once every 300 to 500 years. So it's not like we're going to get a total solar eclipse next year again in the same style. There may be one that passes through in the next decade or so. We'll get a partial eclipse maybe, but a total solar eclipse to appear in the same fashion geographically only happens once every 300 to 500 years on average. So that's
So,
that's why we're so excited.
yeah. So we're really talking about, particularly in the Adirondack Park, is this isn't a once in a lifetime experience. This is a once in millennia experience, isn't it? So
You bet.
So there are important safety considerations surrounding the eclipse. Of course, the Adirondacks is very rural, not really built for large crowds, or doesn't have the same infrastructure as other parts of the eclipse path, including here in New York State. And of course, the eclipse path is going from Mexico all the way across to Canada. So
Mm.
what do you advise residents to be aware of, and visitors coming into your region, perhaps for the first time, to be thinking about if they come for this experience?
Yes, well, let's talk about the travel aspect of it. We know in after 2017, well, 2017 was the first time that a total solar eclipse passed across the entire continental United States in over 100 years. So going back to prior to that, we don't really have any data about what happened, with population, with traffic. There was no Facebook back in the 1800s when the last time it happened was. So we have to collect data from 2017. And it was a big event in 2017. And there was a lot of information that was collected after that that helped us plan now for 2024. The Transportation Safety Board has done a number of studies. Other large organizations with data collection have collected. And I think the advice is brace for impact. People are coming. And I think there's a misconception that we're planning on having this eclipse happen, and that's really not true. We are essentially victims of the eclipse. So we're in the Adirondack Parks. The eclipse is happening to us. We're not inviting people here. They are coming one way or the other, and that's one of the things that they learned in 2017. And communities that plan appropriately will benefit from that financially well into the future for tourism and so forth. However, having said that, what we also know happened in 2017 was that gas stations, restaurants, and so forth were unprepared for the number of visitors to an area. So we've been advising, gas stations to make sure they're filled up on the Friday before and park a tanker right out in the back of your parking lot, and be prepared for cars to just make a line, like it was in the 70s when there was the gas shortage. It will feel like that, and if you will very likely run out of gas. We know that fast food restaurants. My experience in Hopkinsville, Kentucky, was that on our way back to our hotel, which was in Lexington. It took us 3 hours to get from Lexington to Hopkinsville, but it took us 11 hours to get back because of the traffic, and restaurants ran out of food. So my recommendation is for travelers, assume that McDonald's will run out of hamburgers, and pack a cooler with you, both coming into town and out of town. Leave the cooler in the town in your car when you get here, because we'll have plenty of food trucks available. But plan on being in traffic for quite a while. Bring blankets with you because it's April. It's going to be a little bit chilly, or it could be a little bit chilly. And if you're stuck in traffic, you'll want to be comfortable. But bring the food. If you need to take medications, make sure you have that with you for the trip. Any of those sort of things, but blankets and so forth are important. For people that live in the Adirondacks here already, I would want them to take advantage of whatever their communities are offering in terms of events and so forth. We're a little bit different here in Tupper Lake because we have the Adirondack Sky Center and Observatory, and we're putting this massive experience together for visitors and local residents. But otherwise, the eclipse can be seen from anywhere. You don't have to climb to the top of, Marcy Mountain in order to get a good view. And I wouldn't even advise that because it's April in the Adirondacks and the trails will be a little bit messy. But go to a parking lot that you've got a clear view of the southwest sky. That's where it'll occur, about 40 degrees on average above the horizon. And if you can see that, that area, you'll be pretty set. You don't have to travel if you already live in the Adirondack Park. Having said that, I do invite people from the area to come to Tupper Lake for the more complete experience because sunny skies or not, we're going to have a tremendous amount of things to do and activities going on that hopefully we'll talk about in a few minutes.
Right,
From a
right. Well, in fact, let's go ahead and segue right to that, Seth,
Okay.
and what some of the things that the Sky Center and the observatory are planning that people can take advantage of.
Yeah, oh boy, we'd have to have a whole separate show just for that piece to talk about any detail. But let me give you the highlights.
Right, right.
We have a number of guest speakers coming in. We have a professor from Wesleyan University coming in. We have a doctor from the Harvard Smithsonian Observatory coming in. They'll be there. So we have a number of guest speakers that'll be doing talks throughout the weekend for visitors as they're here. We'll have a number of activities to do for families and for kids, from cereal box viewers to making, eclipse glass masks that they can wear, activities about the path of the sun, the orbit of the moon, all of those sort of things, dozens and dozens of those hands-on activities for kids and families. We have our portable star lab will be set up so that during the day, over the course of the weekend, when the eclipse occurs, of course, it looks like nighttime, so you'll be able to see constellations. Well, in our planetarium, we're going to show you what those constellations will be. So when that eclipse occurs, you say, okay, there's the Orion constellation. Fantastic. We have a public solar viewing area. So we'll have, several high power professional telescopes set up so that people can see the sun through these telescopes and see the sunspots and solar flares and all of that safely and supervised by professional astronomers and people who know how to use that equipment. Because picking up a personal telescope at Walmart the weekend before is not advisable. Please, I'm just advising people, please don't do that. Come here and look at, if you want to see that, come to us. We'll show you how to do that. Of course, when the eclipse occurs, we're going to be looking at the sky. We'll teach you how to do that safely also. We'll have a panel discussion of our, with all of our experts here. We'll be doing that at some point during that time. We're going to be feeding in the NASA live stream. In addition to, and they're broadcasting from Kerrville, Texas, Indianapolis, Cleveland. And we not only are we bringing that stream in, but we are also, through our telescopes, broadcasting back out to that stream. So people in Kerrville, Texas, will see our telescopes broadcasting right from here in Tupper Lake. But because we've got this 18-foot digital screen coming with a production company, we are also providing a stream out of our activities right on the ground here. So there'll be camera operators here providing video out to that. But we'll also be providing other video on that stream, both here live on that, of other events happening in Tupper Lake. For example, the Art Center has an art show going on. There'll be a cameraman that'll pop down there to broadcast that onto that big screen and also out live through our stream. We'll do some viewing safety videos on that big screen during the course of it. Again, we have 7 or 8 food trucks here. We'll have all sorts of volunteers helping make people, comfortable and giving them a hand and making it a great experience, to be here for the weekend. And, we'll have, I think we've reserved 20,000 eclipse glasses for the weekend. Hopefully that will be enough. But those will be available here on sale. anything that we're saying, we'll have merchandise for sale, commemorative merchandise, including, banners and pins, anything that commemorates this eclipse. But I think I want to say that this event for the Adirondack Sky Center is relatively expensive. So we're not profiting from the sale of anything. Any profit that we make is going to uh, uh, pay for the events that we have planned, all of the expenses that we've encouraged. We're not looking to make any money. We're just looking to cover the cost of what it entails to put this kind of an event together.
You know,
I have not seen anything like this in any community in the Adirondacks so far. So this is unique.
one thing I want to reiterate, or have you reiterate, Seth, is about visual safety. And you talked about having the glasses. It's really, really important that people understand that they cannot look at the sun without these glasses on, isn't it?
Absolutely, yes. And more importantly, there's ways to put them on safely. You make sure you're facing down, you put them on, then you look up. With children, you want to make sure that they're on. Technically speaking, you can take the eclipse glasses or the solar glasses off during totality only. But when the sun and the moon are in that partial phase of the eclipse, the glasses have to stay on. Additionally, if you're using any kind of ocular device like a telescope or binoculars or anything like that, the eclipse glasses are not sufficient for that. They're special filters that you put on the end of the device, like the telescope. Those are available commercially online. Make sure that you get them from a trusted source. We'd be happy to help if people want to give us a call or shoot us an email to ask if, hey, we're looking at getting this for our telescope. But eclipse glasses are not safe for that. One of the videos that we've not decided if we're going to show or not, but because it's a little bit raw, is what happens to an eyeball looking through a telescope with an eclipse glass in front of it. You see first the eclipse glass melts, and then the eyeball melts. And that's no kidding. That's no fun. So only with special equipment should you look through a telescope or binoculars. And again, we'll have that. I don't recommend people even try to look through a device like a telescope without us here helping you. We can help you do that. I wouldn't recommend trying to do that on your own. But in terms of eclipse glasses, have a good a case of certified eclipse glasses with you. I don't recommend trying to use the welder's masks. There are certain numbers of those that are safe, but why take a chance? At a couple of dollars for a pair of eclipse glasses, splurge and get some that are absolutely safe and certified to be so.
The last thing we want is to have this once in a lifetime experience be something that destroys your eyesight, for
Oh,
sure. So
yes.
I appreciate your safety talk, and I hope that other people are also listening. Seth, this has been a terrific conversation. I so appreciate you coming in. Thanks to the power of Zoom, which we leverage all the time here for North Country
Absolutely.
Matters. Same
Yeah.
thing. But it's great to hear more about the Sky Center and the observatory, and I hope people will take advantage of your lecture series once we get through the next few weeks after the eclipse. And hopefully it will increase the visitors not only to your site, but to your location and more folks for your lecture series.
Yes, yes, absolutely. That's our mission, is to provide that educational opportunity to demystify the universe. And those are the types of programs that we use to do just that.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming in. A reminder to our viewers, these conversations are a production of North Country Matters. This show is a civic collaboration between the League of Women Voters of St. Lawrence County and the Potsdam Public Library. Until next time, remember, our North Country matters.